All right, let's talk about one of the most talked about tokens in all of crypto, Shiba Inu. We're going to really dig into the bull case that its biggest supporters are making. So, right off the bat, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Shiba Inu has always had this core challenge, right? It's got this reputation as a meme coin, and then there are the absolutely staggering numbers behind it. And this really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Is Shiba Inu just a joke, or is it a serious asset? You've got this fun, playful image on the outside, but underneath, there's a project with some seriously big ambitions. It's that classic crypto conflict, what you see versus what it could become. And speaking of staggering numbers, look at this. This is the biggest hurdle, no question. We're talking about a circulating supply of over 589 trillion tokens. I mean, that's a number so big it's hard to even wrap your head around it. And what it does is it keeps the price for each individual token almost microscopic. It just makes any kind of significant price jump a massive mathematical challenge. So the big question is, how are its supporters trying to tackle this challenge? Well, the first part of their argument is this really deliberate push to build real-world utility. They're trying to prove that Shiba Inu is way more than just a meme. And right at the heart of that whole strategy is something called Shibarium. Think of it as a new layer, a new technology that's built right on top of the Ethereum network. The whole idea is to make the Shiba Inu ecosystem actually do stuff by piggybacking on the security and trust that Ethereum has already built up. So, what's Shibarium actually for? Well, it kind of boils down to three main things. The endgame here is to create this whole universe of apps, exchanges, and tools. Real activity that could drive some actual long-term value for the network. But it's not just about the tech. There's also this big push to change how decisions get made inside the community itself. It's a move towards decentralization, and this slide really breaks it down perfectly. You see, the old way of doing things was pretty much dominated by the big players, the whales, who held the most tokens. But this new model they're proposing, it's all about fairer participation. The goal is to give the smaller holders more of a voice and create a governance structure that's really driven by the whole community, not just the wealthiest few. Okay, so that's the utility angle. Now, let's pivot to the second major part of the bull case. This is the strategy to completely change the token's economics by tackling that massive supply head on. And really, the argument here is super simple. For the price to go up in any meaningful way, that 589 trillion supply has to come down. It's basic supply and demand, right? If you have fewer tokens floating around, each one becomes a little more scarce and potentially a lot more valuable. So how are they going to do that? Well, proponents are pointing to this new partnership with a real crypto heavyweight, Chainlink. This whole thing introduces a really clever mechanism. Basically, every time a transaction happens across different blockchains, a little piece of SHIB gets automatically and permanently removed from circulation. It gets burned. It's gone forever. All right, so we've talked tech, we've talked economics. The third argument shifts gears and looks at market behavior. It's all about watching what the biggest investors are doing, following the smart money, because their moves can sometimes signal what's coming next. Check out this number, $1.66 million. Now, this isn't the total market cap or anything. This is the value of a single massive move by just one investor. And yeah, definitely caught the eye of market analysts. And what did that $1.66 million buy? A jaw-dropping 132 billion SHIB tokens. A crypto whale pulled this entire stash off an exchange and tucked it away into a private wallet. Now, that's a move that usually screams long-term hold, not "I'm just here for a quick trade." So what's the big takeaway here? Well, it's all about how the analysts read this move. They see it as a huge sign of confidence. When the price is kind of flat and maybe retail interest is down, seeing a major player with deep pockets decide this is a good time to get in, well, that suggests they think the current price is a great entry point before a potential future rally. Okay, so we've looked at the tech, the tokenomics, and the whale moves. So what's the big picture here? What does it all add up to? When you boil it all down, the bull case for Shiba Inu really rests on these three key pillars. You've got building real utility, you've got actively shrinking that massive supply, and you've got these signals from big money that seem to suggest some serious confidence in the project's future. And all of this brings us to the final, big picture question. Can these developments, the tech, The token burning, the whale buys, can they be enough to fundamentally change Shiba Inu's destiny? Can a project that started as a meme really transform itself into a lasting, valuable asset? That right there is the multi-billion-dollar question the market is just waiting to answer.